What's up, y'all? Now, we just did the NFL, as y'all seen, the top 10 NFL quarterbacks heading into this season. Now, I want to move on and talk NBA a little bit. This one, I'm going to talk about the biggest what-ifs in NBA history. You know, sometimes we play our video games, and we always just wonder, what if this person never got hurt? Or what if that never happened? Or what if this person's on this team? So, to me, I'm going to go with the biggest what-ifs in NBA history, in my opinion, from the top 10. And we're going to discuss, and I'm going to see how y'all feel about it. First, I want to start off with, I had 11, so I went with an honorable mention. As others I could have had on this list, but I left some guys off. But my honorable mention for me is, probably going to take some heat, but Eddie Curry.
What?
If you know who Eddie Curry is. He played for the Chicago Bulls. From Chicago, actually, you know what I'm saying? South Holland, Illinois, Actually, we went to the same high school. Not at the same time, of course. But a funny story, he went to high school with my cousin. They actually got into a fight. That's a story for another day. Maybe I'll get him on the channel. He can share that hilarious story. You will be dying laughing when you hear it. But Eddie Curry was a Chicago guy. And he happened to get drafted by the Bulls. Dream come true. Before Derrick Rose, it was Eddie Curry who actually was living a Chicago dream. And the original Curry, of course. Well, you got Dale, but Eddie Curry, before he had the heart problem, was starting to become in the form. Last season he was averaging about 19 points, about 8 rebounds or so. He was really starting to come into form. He had people like Shaq giving him props, saying how great he could have been, and all these guys was really giving him credit because they seen it. That he went to New York, traded to New York, and, with signs of the heart problem, and you know what I'm saying? He just never was able to overcome it. Now, we was fortunate enough to win a championship on a roll with the Miami Heat. Funny story back to my cousin, I would always pick whatever team Eddie Curry is on just to troll him, just to mess with him, just to get buckets and tell him how dominant he was. And he'd be talking crazy about him because, obviously he didn't. That's a funny story. Now let's get into the top 10. At number 10 on my biggest what-ifs list, I'm going with Brandon Jennings. Now, a lot of y'all know Brandon Jennings now for his role on the Gills Arenas, a lot of stuff he say and this and that, but Jennings was an absolute phenom. High school, went overseas. He was the first person to make that hot, paved the way for guys like LaMelo Ball. And, he played for teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, the Detroit Pistons, the New York Knicks, mainly for his role with the Bucks. Y'all know his 7th game in the league, he dropped 55. So the potential was there. Y'all seen what he did, walking bucket, cat quick. All of it. You know what I'm saying? I remember it was a time when it seemed like his team was the only team that could beat the Miami Heat consistently, outside of the Bulls. Regular season, of course. Playoffs, y'all know, is a different story. As they used to, the Bulls was destroying both, destroying that division and all that. But Jennings, got slowed down after he had the Achilles injury or whatever, so that derailed his career. Then he ended up overseas, was never the same again, but he was starting to come into form as a true point guard. He had a 20-assist game. So at 10, I got one of my personal favorite hoopers in Brandon Jennings. Now we're going to move on to number 9. And at number 9, I have Stat himself, Amar'e Stoudemire. Standing tall and talented. Amar'e Stoudemire was an absolute beast. Athletic freak, a dunk contest winner. He did it all. Just came straight out of high school. I think Mari got slowed down. When Mari went to the Knicks, signed a $100 million deal, we was questioning. A lot of teams got to remember, he was best power forward out there. You could argue between him, Carlos Boozer, and Chris Bosh, who was the best, most sought-after power forward out there. I would say probably number 1 was Amar'e. But this guy, he was a highlight reel every time. Him and Steve Nash in that pick and roll. But then he went to the Knicks. We thought him, Carmelo Anthony, and Chauncey Billups would work out. Didn't quite go because of Amar'e's health and other things going on. But Amar'e's knees went out, and that was pretty much it for his career. But I'm going to give him the respect and put Amar'e Stoudemire at the number 9 spot of the biggest what-ifs. At number 8, we're going to show my city some love, as we're going to take it to Simeon High School phenomenon. Not that one, but that one. Jabari Parker. Jabari Parker, a lot of people compared him to another guy that's on this list later on down the line. I'm going to get to him. He was explosive, a big body, strong,
had the build, can move, very athletic, play from the outside, had the face-up game. Jabari Parker had a very nice, well-rounded game. Carmelo Anthony comparisons. He was a pretty damn good player, but as usual, those injuries, I think the knees had got to him as well, and he just was never the same. Ended up out the league and playing overseas, and it's just in a very unfortunate season. He was out early, didn't hit his 30s. He was about 26 years of age when he was out of there, so very unfortunate for Jabari Parker. Actually, some people in my family, I don't talk to them, but that other side of the family actually played ball with Jabari Parker back in the days for the AAU team. And now we're going to move on to number 7.
Number 7 on my list of what ifs, we got the Rocket Yao Ming, 7'6". And when he came in, number 1 overall, the league was like, man, what are we going to do about him? Shaq gave him high praise. He was highly skilled. Nothing you could do with him. But the thing with Yao Ming, obviously with the big man come the bad knees and the injuries. First 2 years looked promising. You know, the game was too fast for him, but once he started to get adjusted to the speed, because he didn't win Rookie of the Year, Amari did, the guy we were just talking about. But his first 2 seasons, he played 82 games. Third season, he played 80 games, which is still good. He missed the entire year of 2019 to 2010. His last 6 seasons, Yao Ming missed 250 total games. That's when the injuries started to wear and tear, the age, him being that height. But he wasn't even that old when he retired. I think Yao was about 28. I don't even know if he hit 30 yet. But the potential for Yao was sky high. It's just the injuries was very unfortunate. He was getting better year by year, and he was going to be a problem for the league. But injuries happen, but it's still enough for me to put him at least number 7 on my list, because we at least seen a bit of flashes of who he could become. Not his full potential, but we seen enough of him. But it's number 6. Number 6, we have one of my personal favorites in Brandon Roy. Brandon Roy, the glimpses we've seen of him, a lot of people say that Damian Lillard remind them a lot of Brandon Roy. And ironically, they both played for Portland. Both hit a game winner in the same exact spot in the playoffs to win a playoff series. No, it's true. You can look it up. And Kobe Bryant labeled him a bad boy. So that's how much respect Brandon Roy had. Kobe and the other peers had for Brandon Roy. When his injuries started hitting, it hit me. It was like, man, he ended up ending his career after Portland ended up going to Minnesota, which ironically, that was the team that drafted him and traded him, and we all criticized Minnesota for that. But if only his career could have been longer, the sky was the limit. Brandon Roy was definitely one of those ones. He could shoot, he could pass, could dribble, could do it all. He had the complete game, can give you a triple-double on any given night if he wanted to. So at number 6, I got Brandon Roy. He could have been higher, but we was at least able to see some glimpses, unlike some of these other guys. Number 5. Now, my top 5 could have been arranged at any order, in my opinion, which a lot of people probably going to argue with this. I don't think the choice was probably the order, but I'm going to go with Penny Hardaway. So at the 5th spot, I'm going to go with Penny. Another guy we've seen the potential, seen flashes, just how great he could be. But I think injuries just impacted that, really stunted his growth, of what he could possibly be in the league going forward. Penny was a bad boy. They all rave about him. One of the first big point guards. He's about 6'7", pass, shoot, flashy, athletic, all that. You know what I'm saying? He had all the game. Players to today still going to him. He just had a job over at Memphis where he was working with the kids. So he's still very respected. His shoes was worn. He was going to be very marketable too. He was and was going to continue to be very marketable. That a lot of people wanted to be a young Penny Hardaway. So, that pretty much tells you all you need to know about Penny. Put the moves on some of y'all favorite players. So I got Penny at the number 5 spot. He could be higher, but I think these other guys on the list just go a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? So then we're going to go on to number 4. Number 4 on the list, my boy, my second all-time favorite player, Tracy McGrady. Tracy could have been anywhere from here to 1. You know what I'm saying? I told you top 5 was interchangeable. He could have been 5 anywhere.
But I feel like we seen enough of him. We seen a stretch. We was spoiled enough. If you was old enough to see him, man, you seen one of the coldest hoopers you will ever get to witness, from Kobe to everybody. Just know how good. Your favorite players today modeled their game after Tracy McGrady. Well, yes, at the 4th spot, we're going to go with T-Mac, Tracy McGrady. And now we move on to the top 3. Let's see who we got. Now we're in the top 3. And at number 3, I'm going with Grant Hill. Now, remember I told y'all Jabari Parker, who went at 8, it was a guy who they compared him to. Jabari Parker had a lot of Grant Hill comparisons. Hill was dubbed the next Jordan. Honestly, me personally, I would put Tracy McGrady, who was at 4, over Hill, but I feel like we've seen a little bit more of Mac. He didn't get impacted by injuries earlier as we did, as Grant Hill did. But I feel like those two, I feel like at the peak, I feel like Tracy would have been better. That's just my personal opinion, though. But a lot of people are going to say different. But nonetheless, I got Hill at 3. That's the logic of having Hill at 3, because I feel like here's a bigger what if because it was cut short. You know what I'm saying? Faster, if that makes sense. So I got Hill at 3. Can do everything. Can do everything. Like another guy, put some of the moves on your favorite players, as you see. Grant Hill went to the school I don't like. I ain't going to name that school. But I mean, everybody always talk about the what ifs when they come to Hill. He was still a very solid player in his career. Still had a very good career. Defensively, still a great team player, but we always wonder who he could have been if he never lost that explosiveness. So that's who I got at 3. Now we're getting to the top 2. Number 2, too big, too strong, too fast, too good. Derrick Rose, Chicago. Simeon High School legend. Chicago legend. Live every kid's dream. I got Derrick at 2. Now, I know a lot of y'all probably expected him to be number 1, but I feel like it's one more guy who I feel like was just over. A bigger what if than Derrick. Now, Derrick obviously is here because, he gave us 4 seasons before he got hit with that injury. Youngest MVP in NBA history. The sky was the limit. No telling where he could have been at the end of his career. Him and Westbrook could have been battling it out. That would have been something to see them two going forward. But I got Derrick Rose. I mean, he was jumping out the gym. He was doing whatever. And I watched him since high school. Seeing those games, hell, seeing him beat my high school at the time. So it runs deep with Derrick. Like, he can move like no other. Explosive. Some of the stuff he can do, like, he was definitely an inspiration. Him and Dwayne Wade was definitely, like, great examples. When you think of Chicago Hoopers, them was the 2 guys you looked at back then. Them 2 guys, Derrick Rose and Dwayne Wade. They the same style of game. All that, that's that tough-minded attacking the basket. That was our style. Every kid wanted to play like them. So that's at my number 2. So there can only be one. But the thing is, who is it? I know I'm about to take some heat for this, but the number 1 biggest what if in NBA history, in my opinion, is Gregory Oden. Check it out. Greg Oden got the injury before he could even step foot on an NBA court. His career started with an injury. He went number 1 overall over Kevin Durant. That's still a big question mark. But, I mean, a lot of people look at what he did in high school. He was dubbed like the next Shaq. Like, he had that type of potential. And then you look at what he did in college. In the national championship, they lost, but I think Greg put up like 25, 12, and 3 blocks. I remember watching that game live. Like, seeing him at Ohio State, he was a different type of animal. So, to me, I always wonder what Greg Oden could have been despite the injury luck. Where his potential, how high he could have been, as far as a center and on that list. So that's my personal take. This is my personal top 10. And, my one honorable mention, I know it's other guys like Harold Miner and Reggie Lewis and these guys. I mean, everybody's list is different because I could have went different. I could have said people like Benji Wilson, Ronnie Fields. I could have went straight Chicago. But this is the people I went with, So let me know what you think about this list. Let me know who your guys is. Let me know who you agree with, who you disagree with. And we can discuss in the comments. Thank you for watching, and we out. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Don't forget that part.